and we're going to start by just jiggling everything around, which is completely weird. You have to just pretend that no one's watching, and you have to let all the wobbly bits wobble, which is completely counterintuitive to what we prefer. But let's see how much we can. And imagine that you're one of those guys, you know, by the garage that has air blowing up through the top of his head, and he just wiggles completely randomly. You've got to let all that fascia wiggle out. Let the arms go up. Let the legs go out. Check if there's something maybe sticking. And if you were talking like me, then it sounds a lot like this, because you're bouncing your diaphragm. And it's quite fun, as long as no one's watching. That's fine. You're just jiggling around. You're getting all the blood flowing. And you're breathing intentionally. So you're expanding the rib cage. Ah, there we go. And I'll tell you what, you'll feel nice after this. So keep going. There we go. And you can start slowing back down and relax. There you go. How's the tingles? It feels quite lekker, hey? Okay, so standing at the back of your mat, let's go back to the boring stuff. Feet hip distance apart. You should feel that your heart rate's gone up. And actually, it's quite a cool way of just like getting things going. Soften those knees. And imagine now, think of those little toys that where you press that button at the bottom, they floppy down. And as you unpress the button, they restack all of those little bits and pieces back up straight, nice and tall. I'll find one that we have, if you know what I'm talking about. So restack all of those little pieces of your body up tall, soften the knees just a tad, and then curling that chin down, rolling the shoulders forwards, and articulating through your spine. Come all the way down to the bottom of your roll down. Take a deep breath in, and then restack your spine as you breathe out. It's just our first little check-in. So we're not forcing the range, growing tall through the crown of your head. Take a breath in, and then tuck that chin in, roll those shoulders forwards. Come all the way down to the bottom of your roll down, and then soften your knees completely so that your hands can reach the mat. Walk the hands out 5 big steps and find that length into your front support position. If you battle with this position, then pop the knees down just to relieve the pressure on the toes. Otherwise, you're pushing into the armpits, so you're squeezing the armpits. You're going to bend the knees, so place the knees onto the mat, and then bend your elbows. So take your chest towards the mat and come back up. You're doing a little push-up, so don't go too far down if you can't keep your spine in the same place. Keep the wrap on your tummy. We're going to do 2 more, so you're up to 5. And then bend 1 more time. Push yourself up, lift up the knees, so you're back into your front support. Push the bum up towards the ceiling, and then walk those hands back towards the feet. Find the bottom of your roll down. Soften the knees, engage your tummy muscles, breathe in, and then breathe out as you restack your spine, coming all the way up. Make sure you're breathing as we come up and down through these movements, because they're large movements for your body to keep up with the blood flow. Take a breath in at the top, and breathing out. As you come back down, hang those arms heavy down towards your toes. Soften the knees, place the hands flat on the mat. Remember, as you do your push-ups, that you're squeezing into your armpits. You're not putting any strain actually onto the shoulders. Place the knees down to the mat and bend the elbows. Elbows stay close to your rib cage, so you tuck the elbows in as you bend down, and 99% of the pressure falls into the triceps, so into your arms, not so much into the shoulders. Your tummy stays tight, so your back doesn't sag. We've got about 1 more. If you get to 5, then you stop with the arms straight, lift the knees back into your plank, and then push the bum up to the ceiling. Now walk your feet towards your hands. Find the bottom of your roll down. So you're at the front of your mat now, hanging there, knees are soft, tummy is tight, and you restack your spine on your out breath if you can. Coming all the way up, standing tall through the crown of your head. Take a deep breath in. We've got 1 more to go. Tuck the chin in. As you roll down, you exhale. You keep the tummy supporting your spine all the way down to the bottom of your roll down. Bend the knees enough that your hands can come down to the mat. Take a big step back into almost a deep lunge position. Take your other leg back to match that and find your plank position. Pull the tummy nice and tight. So you just pause in that position where you're checking, your shoulders are away from your ears, your armpits are squeezed. You place your knees down and bend those elbows. And then coming back up. Keep the elbows tucked close to the sides as you bend them. Keep the armpits squeezed and the neck long. Breathe. 3, last 2, 4, and 1 more. 5, pause with those arms straight. Bend your knees so your bum comes towards your heels and stretch yourself back. Take the pressure off your wrist into your rest position. Very briefly, and you can curl yourself all the way up into a tall kneeling position. Okay, hope we're all warmed up a little bit. Take your hands behind your back. So we're going to go into what I would call let's call it a chicken wing and stretch. So you've got your chicken wings here, your elbows, and we're going to curl those shoulders forwards. You're keeping your pelvis neutral. Your arms flop forward, so you get an internal rotation on the shoulders. Just change your range if it feels at all uncomfortable. And then you're going to squeeze the shoulder blades back in together, stretch the hands down the bum, and lift your chest a little bit towards the ceiling. And then you're going to let them slide up, and you're going to roll the shoulders forward. And then you stretch the hands down the bum and lift the chest to the ceiling. Open the chest as much as you can. And slide the hands up, elbows forward. This is undoing the desk. And lift the chest to the ceiling. And then rolling forwards. So you're getting a lot of upper back mobilization. There's not much happening in the lower back. Lift the chest, sternum to the ceiling. And just one more rounding. Remember to breathe. And lifting and squeezing the shoulder blades together. And then you can come back to a neutral position, unclasp the hands. And you're going to roll yourself down so that you come onto all fours. So place the hands flat onto the mat. The roll down bit was just a little bit of articulation because why not? So you're on all fours. We're going to let's start with a little bit of deep hip flexion. So take your right leg back behind you and lift it up off the mat. So pull the tummy tight, squeeze that bum to lift the leg. Flex your foot and you're going to step that foot all the way up to the outside of your right pinky if you can. Land it as softly as you can and then lift it up and take it back out nice and long. Squeeze the bum and then bring it forwards. So find your own flow. You're going to slide it back, squeeze the bum to find that neutral spine and then step it forward. Gentle step to that pinky finger and as high up as you can go. If you can't make it all the way up there, that's okay. Just go as deep into that hip flexion as you can. And remember to breathe. Your spine moves and bends and swivels a little bit to get your leg up there. But just one more. So take a step up. And then taking it out back long and hover it up there. Find your neutral spine, squeeze your bum, and then place that knee back down. Let's change over to the other side. So take the left leg out long behind you. Pull the tummy tight, find your neutral spine, squeeze your bum, squeeze your armpits, and step that leg forwards. Land it as softly and as close to that left pinky finger if you can. And up we go. It sometimes helps to breathe out as you step forwards, because just that out breath helps you to get a better, deeper contraction into the tummy muscles. You're stretching and you're stepping, so keep going. Got about 2 more. Connect deep into the tummy muscles to bring that leg forwards. Let's just do one more. I think that was already 2, but that's okay. Step it forwards. And then take it out long and back. Neutral spine. And then place that knee slowly back down. I want you to turn sideways onto your mat. And then still find your 4-point position. So your hands might be just off the side of your mat. Yeah, that's perfect. So you're in the middle of the mat. So you've got space either side for you to take your right leg behind you, flex the foot, and then, let me get out of the way, right leg behind you, flex the foot, and then step it out to the side, but now in line with your left knee. So place it down on the mat so it's in line with your left knee. Perfect. If you can, then you curl your foot flat onto the mat. If that doesn't feel great in the ankle, then that's fine. Leave it however it is. But the important thing is to try and get your knee straight on that straight leg side. Shift your weight backwards a little bit towards your left heel, and then come forwards. And shift the weight back and forwards. And you should notice that you get quite a stretch into that adductor on the right side. See if you can keep your spine neutral for now. So you're not rounding your back, you're not hollowing out your back. You're just shifting the weight forwards and backwards, and you're breathing. And then on the next one forwards, you're going to stop in that neutral position. I want you to go into a cat stretch. So round your spine, hold that cat stretch, and now move your hips backwards. And just see how it changes the stretch a little bit. You might find it gets more into it feels like a longer adductor. So it's stretching almost more down towards the inside of the knee maybe. Keep that cat stretch. And we're going to do one more in the cat stretch position. And then come forwards into your neutral position. Uncurl your spine. Go into a little arch. So now you're sticking the bum out. So your puppy tail is sticking out backwards. And do that same movement. You'll find now you can't go as far possibly. Or in fact, even in the neutral position with that extended spine, you might well find that you can't move very much at all, or that you feel that stretch almost immediately. So it's a small movement with the spine extension because it stretches into your shorter adductor muscles. Let's just do one more move backwards, come forwards, pause there, neutralize your spine position, walk your hands back towards your knee, and curl yourself up into a tall kneeling position. Okay, so now you could soften that knee if you need to. On the side that's straight, you could bend that. If you feel your hip giving you jip, then you're welcome to just bend it a little bit. Take the arms out to the sides. Okay, so you're up tall, you're stacking everything above that downward knee. You're going to just slide your shoulders across to the left side. So you're reaching for the apples on the furthest branch and then coming all the way back up and stretching out. Breathe and then come all the way back up. Try and keep the shoulders away from the ears. So this is not about the shoulders. It's about that side muscle that has to support you as you reach off the ladder and then you come back. And you're getting the rosiest, sweetest apples off the longest branch of the tree. And the next one, we're going to stop and pause and hold it there. You're going to bring your left arm up to your ear. Hold it there. Keep that length. Don't let your body come up because you brought your arm up. So keep stretching now. The branch is a little bit higher. And take your top hand up and over because it's a huge watermelon. You've got to hold it with two hands and then bring that arm back down. Bring it up. I become too literal. And then come down and bring that arm up. But keep reaching and stretching as long as you can. We've got one more to go. You're going to hold it there briefly. Check that you can breathe. And then bring both arms down and the body comes up and you get a little bit of a hip cramp possibly. Okay, and you can slide that leg back in. All right, come back down onto all fours. Ah, there we go, nicely done. And you're going to take your left leg out to the side. See if you can flatten that leg down, the foot down onto the mat. If you can't, that's okay. But keep the knee straight if you can. So that left leg has to stay straight. And you're going to shift the bum backwards towards the right heel and then forwards. Check that your spine is neutral for this first one. Because remember, we do the 3 different spine positions. So find your neutral spine that you just shift backwards and forwards. And notice where you're feeling it in this particular stretch. So generally, and this is very general actually, because adductors are very individual to the person, is that generally you might feel it's more in the middle, in the belly of that adductor, so the inner thigh muscle. And as you go into your cat stretch, so come forwards into your neutral position and then round your spine up, you'll feel that releases any stretch that you had maybe, and shift your bum backwards and notice where it changes. If it changes, maybe it doesn't for you, that's okay. But I definitely notice mine goes further down towards the knee. So it gets into your adductor longus, makes sense. All the way back and forwards.
Don't forget to breathe as you shift your weight backwards and forwards. We're going to do one more back. Come forwards into your neutral spine position, uncurling, and then extend your spine just a little bit. So lift your chest a bit towards the wall in front of you, and immediately you should feel a stretch increase into the adductor and shift the weight backwards and forwards. Change your range, so you don't want to pull something or make a twang sound. That won't be good. But see if you can keep that extension in the spine. You're going to feel as you go backwards, your bum's going to want to tuck in to get away from the stretch because it's intense. So make it small. Almost there. Let's just do one more. Backwards, come forwards, find your neutral spine again, and then you can round your spine and curl yourself back up into your tall kneeling position. Keep that leg out long if you can to the side, but you can bend it if you need to. So if you're struggling with hip cramp on that left side, then that's okay. You can bend that knee. Take the arms out to the sides. Okay. Stretching as far as you can, reaching with that arm, and then coming back in. So we're just checking in. You want to keep your weight distribution fairly neutral in terms of staying over that right leg, and then reaching and stretching. You're going as long as you can, and as you get to that reach, feel the catch in your waistline. So those obliques are working quite hard, and we're stretching and breathing at the same time. And then we're going to reach and stretch and hold. Pause it there. Bend the knee if the hip's cramping, and then take that right arm up to the ear. Hold it there. It's a watermelon, so you need two arms. Stretch up and over and reach, and bring the right arm down or left arm down, and then come up. Stretch and reach. Watermelons don't grow on trees. I do know this. And stretch and reach. Don't forget to breathe. We've got one more. You're going to hold it there and breathe in and out. And then you're allowed to bring the arms down to a T-junction and bring yourself back up. Take the arms down to the side. Shake out the shoulders and curl yourself all the way back down. I think that's what we did, yes. You can tuck that left leg in and take the right leg out to the side again. So in line with your knee, and curl yourself back up into your tall kneeling position. So we're just giving our knees a little bit of a break and the hips a little bit of a break. Take your left arm and place it down quite wide of your left knee. But the idea with this one is that you want to keep some weight on that knee and quite a lot of weight on the arm. Your fingertips are pointing away from your knee, and you're trying to squeeze into your armpit. So roll the arm bone, the top arm bone, slightly backwards in the joint, and you'll find that your shoulder position is a lot safer. Okay, so you're in a bit of a rainbow under that left side. So make sure you're squeezing into the armpit so that your hip hopefully doesn't cramp. And then you're going to lengthen that right leg so that it just comes off the ground. See if you can hold it there. There you go. Now flex that right foot, and let's bring the right leg forwards and then point the toe and go backwards. We're going forwards and backwards. And the whole time you've got to keep pushing into that left armpit. The reason we do that is because otherwise your left hip is going to take too much strain, it's going to cramp. And there's nothing worse than a little bum cramp. And going forwards and backwards. The idea is to try and keep that right foot at the same height from the floor the whole way through the movement. So you're working hard on that top hip. Looking good. Everything else is staying as quiet as possible. You're almost done. Going forwards and back one more time after this. So forwards and back. Bring it back to neutral. And then if you can, just for a bit of fun, see if you can hover the hand and the foot as you come back up. Tuck the right leg in and come back into kneeling. Just for entertainment value, don't worry about it too much. Take your left leg out to the side. You don't have to come back down to all fours, just holding it there. And then take your right arm and place it quite far away from that right knee. Hold it there. Remember, fingertips away from the knee and squeeze and wrap into that armpit. So the shoulder stays away from the ear and it's a safer position for the shoulder. If you need to, you could do this just quickly, lying down on your elbow. So you could do the same hip exercise on your elbow. Just wondering if
shoulders are going to handle this. Okay, so get your little rainbow under there. So connection into the armpit, connection into that hip, but not everything on that hip. And then you're going to lengthen that left leg away from you so that you lift it up. Hold it there. Check in with your neck. If the neck's taking strain, look down to your right hand. Flex the foot and bring that leg forwards, and then point and go backwards and forwards and backwards. Here we go. And you're trying to keep everything else as quiet as possible, not shifting the hips too much. They will shift a little bit just for weight balancing. Squeeze into the armpit, don't let the shoulder come up to the ear. Lift into the waistline, so you're trying to create that arch. And you're breathing. And we've got 2 more. Here we go. And 1 more. Keep that foot at the same height and come back to your neutral. See if you can balance yourself all the way up as you lift that right hand off. Can you? And tuck that leg back in and shake it all out. Very nicely done. Right. Let's lie down onto your tummy. There's no real elegant way to smoothly transition. So you're lying down on your tummy. You're going to put your right hand, your head onto your right forearm and grab a hold of your left leg. Pull your heel towards your bum. So it's a good old-fashioned quad stretch. You're trying to keep your knees together, and you want to see how much you can get your heel towards your bum, but you're not forcing it into the knee joint. So if the knee joint's unhappy, then change your range a little bit, or place a small towel behind the back of your knee. Then you're going to squeeze that left bum cheek. Did I say left leg? Yes. Squeeze the left bum, or both bums if you struggle to isolate one bum at a time. Just squeeze the bum and push the pelvis towards the mat so that you feel the opening in the front of the hip joint, and you feel a stretch going higher up into your hip flexor, more so than in your quad, or maybe both so. Not necessarily more so, but it must be in your hip flexor too. Nice deep breaths in and out. And you're holding that squeeze this time. I know previously we've done squeeze and release and squeeze and release. This time just hold it there. You're pushing your pelvis towards the mat, so you're not arching your back. It's an anchoring of the pelvis that's opening up the front of that hip joint. And then you can gently release that leg. Swap the arms around so that you've got the other forearm under your head, and you can just grab that right heel up to the bum. See if you can get the knees together. That's your first point. And then you pull that heel towards your bum. It doesn't have to actually get there. So just see how flexible it feels today. And you might also feel that one side is significantly different to the other side. That's also totally normal. Squeeze that bum on the right side if you can, or both sides if you can't. That's okay, just squeeze. Push the pelvis towards the mat and open the front of the hips so that you feel that stretch moving up from just your quad to maybe quad and hip flexor. Keep squeezing the whole time, holding it there, but deep breaths. Try and relax into the neck and the shoulders and everything else. And then we gently just release that stretch. Take both hands so that your fingertips are touching one another and you're in a salute position. So your fingertips are under your forehead. It means your nose is hovering just off the mat and your legs are out long. You're going to squeeze the bum to anchor that pelvis. Tighten your legs. So I want your legs strong and straight. You're going to breathe in and lift the top of your sternum away from the mat. So going into your little baby cobra. Your hands are tucked in. That looks amazing. Excellent. Holding it there. Bum is squeezed. Chest is lifted. Lift as high as you can using that place across your shoulder blades. So if I was there, I'd come and poke you kind of in the middle of your back at like bra strap point. Imagine my fingers poking right there. Hold it there. Squeeze the bum if the lower back is getting involved. Wrap into the tummy. So feel like you're hugging into the tummy just a little bit. Again, just to offload the lower back. And we're going to lift your right hand up to a salute. Check that your hand is higher than your elbow as you lift it. Hand higher than elbow. There we go. And then bring it back down. Other side. Left hand lifts. Elbow stays slightly behind as you lift the hand. And then come back down. Change sides.
The reason you're doing that little extra lift on the hand is that it gives you a rotator cuff wrap, so it actually stabilizes your shoulder blade better. Shoulders are away from the ears and you're still alternating. Then you're going to even yourself out. Hopefully the bum is still squeezed so the lower back's not taking over. The last one will be left hand salute, bring the hand back down and lower everything back down. Give yourself a little bit of a shake if you need to, so wiggle the hips. Nice deep breath in and out. And you're going to go again. So squeezing the bum, tighten those legs long and strong. Breathe in to give you the movement of lifting the top of the sternum. Push the bottom of the sternum into the mat so that you get that same melting point below the shoulder blades. And you're going to lift your right arm, so right hand salute, and left leg lift a little bit more from the bum. And then you put it back down and we change the other side. Left hand lifts, right bum squeezes to lift the leg a little bit more. And we change sides. So keep going. Everything else stays quiet. So imagine that your spine is on a tightrope. So it's not allowed to wiggle and sausage as you lift one side at a time. And it's causing you to use a cross pattern, which is a stabilization mechanism. And it's also using a lot of neurological firing because you're using opposites. Or, yeah, alternate arms and legs and stuff like that. You're still going, I know that. And we're going to do the last one with the left hand saluting and then bring it all the way back down and lower that chest and that forehead and give your bum a little bit of a wiggle if you need to, just release it a bit. There is work that starts happening in the lower back, but ideally when you're holding that position, you shouldn't be feeling it overworking in the lower back because it tends to overwork anyway. All right, last one, squeeze that bum, lengthen the legs, lift the chest away from the mat. Find your melting point if you can. Wrap into the tummy if the lower back's taking a little bit of strain. We're going to lift the left hand and the right leg into that same alternating little salute. Squeeze the bum. And now if you can, we're going to change mid-air and swap around. So right hand, left leg, and then change. And keep changing. So you might find that you come into almost a bit of a hover with your arms and your legs. While you're doing this, go through your checklist. Are your shoulders away from your ears? Are you trying to squeeze into the armpits, although they're not closed? Is your bum doing the lifting of your legs? Is your tummy still hugging your insides? Are you breathing? Are you melting below your shoulder blades? Are you still going or are you passed out on the mat? Keep going. We're going to do one or two more. So even yourself out. The last one is with your right hand saluting both hands up, both legs up, hover. Squeeze the bum, wrap the tummy, breathe, shoulders away from the ears, and come slowly all the way down. Magic. Take those hands under your shoulders, elbows pop up, and push yourself all the way up and back into a nice resting position. Release that back line of the body. Lots of work that happens there. So you can always do a little bit of a half moon movement with your ribs side to side if that feels nice. Particularly with the cross patterns, it gets across into the lat muscle. So it's a really important movement to do and practice. But you know, it can be hard work. Deep breaths in and out, and you can round up into the back a little bit as you drag your hands towards your knees and then pull yourself into an all-four position again. So into your 4 point, you're going to twist under your shoulders and your knees and a neutral spine, which is going to be nice and tight. And you're going to squeeze into the armpits. You'd think I have like a cheat sheet of like lists. Okay. Take the left leg back, keep the toe in contact with the mat. Pull that tummy tight, stabilize the hips. Take the right hand forwards, keep it in contact with the mat, stabilize the shoulders. And then lift by swooping your right shoulder blade more down your back. That's what lifts your arm, and your left bum squeezes and lifts your leg. They're quite important activators that you don't just lift randomly, that you actually intentionally lift from certain muscle groups. And then we slowly bring them back down and we try the other side. Keep your spine on that tightrope. So be careful not to shift side to side as you lift or move your one limb. So slide that right leg back, keep the toe down, slide the left hand forwards, keep the hand down, stabilize everything, and then to lift that left hand, you swoop shoulder blade down your back and you squeeze the bum to lift the leg. And your tummy stays wrapped and hugging. So not bracing, your rib cage can still move for you to breathe. And then we're going to place the hand down and the knee comes back down. I'm going to change the other side. Now we're going to keep it a little bit quieter if you can. So check in with your tightrope. Focus on the spine, staying on the same line the whole time. Slide the left leg back. You don't need your right hand. Then you float them up using your shoulder blade and your bum. Your left armpit is squeezing. So you're stabilizing the shoulder by squeezing into the armpit. And you're breathing. And now you're going to round your spine, which will bring your right elbow to your left knee. And you're going to tuck them in and touch them to one another if you can. And then you're going to straighten them back out to a neutral position. And then you're going to round and tuck and squeeze. And then you're going to straighten out. And remember to breathe. So whichever way you breathe doesn't matter. But see if you can keep that spine while it's rounding. So it's flexing and extending. It's not doing a croissant. So it's staying on your tightrope. And rounding and twisting a little bit with your elbow and your knee, but not with your spine. We've got one to go. And you stretch them out and you squeeze the bum and you swoop the shoulder blade and you squeeze into the left armpit and place them back down. Nice. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So take that right leg back, left hand forwards, and then float them up. Remember to use your shoulder blade to lift that left arm. Squeeze into the right armpit. So you want to stabilize that shoulder. Pull the tummy and the lower tummy is nice and tight across the abdominals, and you're going to round the spine. Take the elbow to the knee and then stretch it out long. And each time you find that neutral, come back together. So rounding the spine, elbow to knee. Every time you find the neutral, you check that the bum is squeezing and the shoulder blade on the left side is swooping. That draws your shoulder away from your ear. And you're squeezing into that right armpit. So strong right arm position. Don't sag into that shoulder. We've got one to go. Tummy is drawing the elbow and the knee together, and you straighten them out long and strong. And place the hand and the knee back down. Sit back briefly into your rest position. Take the pressure off your wrists and just stretch out the back line of the body again. So that works a lot into the back line. So while we've done extensions, this also works the back end of the body. So it's quite important to release that. Taking those deep breaths. And then pull yourself back up. Just briefly for our last one on all fours, I promise. Try and keep that squeeze into the armpits and keep your elbows pointing backwards towards your knees the whole time. So even when you're in 4-point, don't let your elbows sit out to the side. Squeeze them backwards to point to your knees. You're not bending them, that's just positional. Tuck the tailbone under, round the spine up, look to your belly. And then uncurl the tailbone, start with the bottom of your spine. Let your tummy come towards the mat, lift your chest towards the wall in front of you, and go into your extension. And tuck the tailbone. So working from one end of the spine all the way through to the other side. And uncurling, rippling through the spine. Keep a little hug on the tummy, so don't let your tummy just sag down as you go into your extension. You've got to keep a controlled movement. And uncurling the tailbone. Looking up, lifting, widen the collarbones as you extend the spine, round into your cat stretch again. And now shift your bum towards your heels. Keep a tight cat stretch, so as rounded as you can, and then bring yourself forward back to a 4-point position. And then keep rounded and move your bum back towards your heels. And then come forward, keep rounded, stay in that cat stretch, bum towards your heels. You should feel a nice little release into the back, an extra little pull. And then come forward. And just one more, stay rounded, keep the tummy tight. Relax the shoulders if you can. Come back to your neutral, uncurl your tailbone, and come back to a neutral position. And you can just flop yourself around so that you sit down onto your bum at the front of your mat. Okay. Get the pressure off the shoulders there. There was quite a lot of stability work in the shoulders, but hopefully it wasn't too much pressure. And If you've got a good bio. No, I'm kidding. I don't think that would have done any kind of damage. As long as you're keeping that squeeze in the armpits, we're all good. Okay, so you're sitting towards the front of your mat. Your knees are bent. I'm going to take these things off because actually even my toes are warming up a little bit. Okay. Sitting up tall, feet are going to be hip distance apart. I want you to hold onto the front of your shins, and we're going to pull yourself up right onto the top of your sitting bum, so your bum bones, straight spine. And then you're going to tuck the tailbone under. So start rounding to the spine and pull yourself into a C curve. So you're rounding as much as you can. And then the way you come out of this is that you start uncurling your tailbone and you pull yourself forwards, and that's what unravels your spine up towards the ceiling. And then you tuck the tailbone. So you're working at various positions, but with articulating through the spine. And then start uncurling the spine and lifting to the ceiling. Get a bit of an extension. Widen the collarbones as you lift to the ceiling. Rounding. And then uncurling. And lifting. Make the movement come from the pelvis. Rounding again. And we're going to hold it there in that rounded C-curve position and see if you can let go of the hands. And you're going to do the same thing. So you're going to start uncurling the tailbone and you're going to lift to the ceiling, but your arms are staying away from your knees if you can. And then tuck the tailbone under and come into that C-curve, but don't hold on to the shins. And then lift. So the tummy's doing a lot of work in holding you in that C-curve, but you come up onto your bum bones every time. And then you curl back and you round the spine. And we're going to do just one more lifting, collarbones widening, and then tuck yourself into your tailbone. Keep your hands away from your knees and see how slowly you can lower yourself down. So aim first for your sacrum, so that's coccyx, and then can you get down to your belt line? And then can you place the bottom of your rib cage onto the mat? But you're still up in the shoulders. And can you place your shoulder blades down? And can you place your shoulders down and your head and your neck and everything else? And you can just collapse there. And bend your knees up high, so close towards your bum, so your heels are close towards your bum. There we go. Nicely done. Hands down by your sides. We're going to place your feet so they're hip distance apart and your sides are parallel. We're going to squeeze the bum and we're going to just roll up into a good old faithful pelvic curl. Lifting as high as you can using your bum cheeks and your hamstrings, pushing into the triangles of your feet, and then rolling slowly all the way back down. And pushing the lower back into the mat just before you release the pelvis. Squeezing the bum, rolling the hips back up, relaxing your neck and your shoulders stay heavy. And then you roll slowly back down. I'm just going to do two more, sending your kneecaps away from you as you roll up. So see if you can lengthen those thigh bones towards the wall in front of you. Squeeze your bum, relax the neck. Roll slowly back down. We've got one more to go, and this one we're going to stop and hold it up there. So squeeze the bum, rolling up, and pause at the top. You're going to lengthen your fingers towards your heels so that you get that connection into your armpits. So your lats are going to be firing. You're not using your neck first. Your neck stays wiggly. If you need to wiggle it, then check in that it's wiggly. But squeeze into the armpits. So lengthen those arms. Push your hands down into the mat and see if you have a limb that you could lift off the ground. So can you lift your right leg, keeping everything else nice and stable, pushing with your arms, pushing your left foot into the mat. And then you can place that down, keep squeezing the bum and change to the other side. Remember to breathe. You're squeezing into the armpits. Every time you put a foot down, you check that you're pushing into the mat with your hands. You're working back line of the body again. Squeezing the bum. Slowly down, change sides, keep the hips level. And hold. And placing it back down. Changing over again. You're nearly done. We're going to do one more on each side, or even yourself out, that you lift the right and then the left. Putting the right down first before you lift the left. Genius. Go. And then you're going to place that left foot back down and then roll down one vertebra at a time. Goes down onto the mat. You push the lower back into the mat, and then you release the pelvis, and then you relax the arms, and just check that everything's completely relaxed. Right. Your hands are still down by your sides. Take one leg to tabletop and take the other leg to tabletop, and floppy shins. So your kneecaps are pointing up to the ceiling. I want you to stabilize your pelvis where it is, or stabilize your spine where it is. So pull your lower tummy a little bit tight, and we're going to start tapping one foot down at a time. You know this one. It's a good old favorite. Very good for your hip flexors. We were chatting about this yesterday. It's that hip flexors and glutes and lower abdominals, if those are all working, we can almost guarantee that you'll have virtually no pain in the lower back. You'll have better function in your knees and your hips and your neck and your back and everything if those three groups are working well. Your hip flexors often get tight, but it's because they're not quite strong enough. And while I'm jabbering away, you're concentrating on your lower tummy that is stabilizing your spine, and your hip flexors are just elastic. Imagine that they're just these rubber bands that are keeping your legs attached to your hip joints. And you can breathe, and your shoulders and your neck can stay soft. You're just marching up and down. And it's pretty easy because we've done this so many times, but you know what's coming next. So we're going to start drawing those nice big circles, dragging the ping pong balls towards your bum each time you turn that circle with your feet. Big swooping movements if you can, but controlling everything with your tummy. So if you feel your back getting involved, you need to go back a step and go back to toe taps, and that's okay. Your tummy is working. Your hips are still large elastic bands. So they're awake, but they're elastic. They may be elastics on fire, but that's okay. Keep that lower tummy working. Keep breathing, keep the shoulders relaxed if you can. Your arms are not doing any work here. It's all about that tummy. And let's reverse that circle. So now you're pushing those ping pong balls away from you on the mat, brushing the balls of your feet away from the bum, and breathing. And this one's the one that's going to be the little nail in the coffin, where you're going to feel those hip flexors screaming at you. Try and ignore it. Focus on that lower tummy. All about the lower tummy. And we've got about 10 seconds to go. Keep going, push through it. 5 seconds. 2, 1, and you can hug those knees up to your chest. Have a happy moment. Wiggle side to side. Stretch them out. Whimper quietly, whatever you need to do. Place your feet back down onto the mat, and wide feet. So now wide feet right to the edges of your mat. Arms out to a low V, and just roll the hips side to side. So let your knees flop right over to the one side, and then let them flop over to the other side. And flopping over. So just mobilizing and letting your hips roll. So you're getting a little bit of a lumbar release. But you're also getting a hip flexor stretch. So as you let your knees go over, say to the right, give that left bum a little squeeze. Open up the front of the left hip, and then come back over. So you can just pause briefly to give an extra squeeze, and then come back over. You're not holding it there for too long, but it means that the hip flexors get a little bit of relief. Squeezing the bum. Almost there. And then just one more side to side, depending on which side you started on. Even yourself out, and then bring those knees back to pointing up to the ceiling, and just bring them closer together. You're going to take one knee up to tabletop and the other knee up to tabletop. Take your hands up to the ceiling, interlace the fingers, and put your hands behind your head. So you're just resting your head in your hands. Your neck has nothing to do in this one. You're going to tuck that chin in, glue your knees together for now, and roll those shoulders up off the mat. So let's go all the way back down. Take the shoulders and the head back down. Tuck the chin, hover the head a fraction. That's the starting point. And then articulate through your spine to lift your shoulders away from the mat. So we don't just crunch. That's why we don't call it a crunch. It's a chest lift, which is articulating through the spine, and you're still holding it there, I know. Hold it there a little bit longer and make your shins floppy again. Keep your spine neutral, and let's see if we can do toe taps. So one foot goes down at a time. You swap them over mid-air. You see if you can keep your shoulders high off the mat. See if you can keep your elbows wide. Don't let them close around your face. So now you're working upper tummy and lower tummy. And if you were talking, it would sound like you were on a corrugated road. Because you should be high enough to be shuddering in the tummy muscles. We're going to go for another 5 seconds or so because we don't really count these marches. Lift the shoulders, don't let them drop as you get tired. And then hug the knees up, lower the shoulders and the neck down, and just relax for a few breaths in and out. Okay, so we've done lots of straight line stuff now. So take those legs back to tabletop. Take your hands interlaced behind your head again. In fact, you can leave your hands just relaxed behind your head. That's totally fine. I want to start with taking one leg out, just away from you. So keep your feet at the same height and then bring it back in and change to the other side. And actually, because your hands are behind your head, this is quite hard work for your tummy to stabilize your spine. So as your leg goes out, you don't want your spine to change position. So keep it in that same line. And because you're using one leg at a time, it's actually quite hard work, and you're working small little cross muscles, little side diagonal muscles. Try and keep your lower back on, not on the mat, but neutral and uninvolved. If you're struggling, then you could tuck the pelvis. And if you're still struggling, then you could put hands down by your sides. Keep going though. Make sure you're not bracing into your rib cage so you can still breathe. And then you're going to pause after the last one. It doesn't really matter too much which one. Tuck your knees up to your chest just briefly so you can rest and you're not quite in tabletop, because that is a little bit of work. And then hands behind the head if they aren't already there, elbows wide. Maybe you can guess what's coming next. We've done chest lifts, we've done lower tummy, we've done both, and now we're going to go into our crisscross. So what you just did with your legs, you're going to straighten out your right leg, lift the shoulders up, and then twist that right elbow towards the left knee and bring that the knee back in. Twist around to the other side, elbow towards the knee, and come back. Keep the same height in your shoulders the whole time. So you're just rolling across the rib cage at the bottom there. You're keeping the shoulders up. You're not pulling on your neck, so your neck is relaxed. Your hands are just supporting you there. And you're breathing. And you're crunching to the side. And we've got about 3 more to go, 2 or 3, even yourself out. And then bring yourself back to the center. Lower the head and the shoulders back down and hug those knees up to your chest and wiggle side to side if you need to. Whatever needs to kind of relieve that one. That one's quite hard work. Okay, taking your hands down by your sides. Your knees are still up. Your hands are down to your sides, and then take them a little bit out to a low V. You're going to take your legs back to tabletop, and this time you're going to glue your legs together. Rotate your hips over to the left side and see if you can get your legs all the way down towards the mat, maybe about a centimeter off the floor on that side. And then push into your arms and use your seatbelt muscles to draw them back to the center. So push your arms into the mat. Your arms have to help with this one. Take your knees over to the right side. Let your hips rotate. Go as far down as you can. See if you can get your knees and your feet to about a centimeter off the mat. Maybe your spine won't allow that, and that's okay. Use your seatbelt muscles and your armpits to bring yourself back to the center. You're going very slowly through this movement. It's a mobilization of the spine, and it's a work of your oblique muscles, bringing your knees back to the center. Try and breathe out as you bring the knees back to the center. So whatever else you do around that, doesn't matter how you get your knees down there, but to bring them back, breathe out. And it'll help you to contract into the abdominal muscles to pull them back. Keeping the knees glued if you can. And remember to squeeze into the armpits and push into the arms to get the knees back to the center and over to the other side. If this is uncomfortable, change your range. So don't force the back to do anything that it doesn't want to do. But it's quite an interesting one in terms of hip flexors and abdominals and armpits. So make those rotator cuffs do a little bit of stabilizing for you. Get them to help out. You're going to go one more over to the right, and then you bring your knees back to the center and you hug them up to your chest, right or left actually, so long as you evened yourself out and you're not going to walk out of here all fandangled. Okay, take your legs out long onto the mat, both legs out. There we go. You're going to stretch those arms above your head, not above your head, so out flat on the mat, so a good morning stretch. Just make yourself as long as you can. There we go. Flare the ribs. And then you can bring your arms back up over your head, so pointing up to the ceiling. And if you need a towel under the lower back, we're going to go into roll-ups. So I want you to focus on your hands and your armpits with the roll-ups. So you're going to, on your breath out, you're going to take your arms behind your head. As you start lifting your arms, you breathe in all the way around so that your arms come to the front of your thighs and your chest lifts a little bit. That's your breathing in. Then you breathe out. Oh, I'm not going to make it up. Out to lift, 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 lift. There we go. And then come forwards a little bit over your feet and then sitting up tall. So if you can, don't worry as much about the breath. The breath out to come up helps, but you send your arms towards your feet and squeeze into the armpits to get your hands to go towards your feet for the roll up, and it'll help a little bit. So tuck the tailbone under and roll yourself all the way back down. Focus on the articulation on the way down. Take the arms behind the head. And then send the armpits and the fingertips to the toes as you come all the way back up. Go in your own time and speed, because if you're using your breath to help you, then it doesn't always work out the same as everybody else. Send the feet away, send the toes away. Your hands are constantly chasing your feet as you come up in the roll up. And then tuck the tailbone. Important though is setting up your hands. So even if you use your pinky finger as you come into your roll up, use your pinky finger to push it down your thighs as you come up. That's the position you want your hands to be already by the time you're trying to lift the shoulders. And we've got one or two more. Coming up and then rolling all the way back down. Tuck that tailbone under and lie yourself down. Stretch the arms above your head for one more good morning stretch. Just nice little, maybe a wiggle side to side. Nice into the rib cage. Take the arms down to your sides, bend the knees one at a time, and cross that left heel over onto the right leg. Bring your good old faithful glute stretch and pull that right knee up towards your chest. Holding it there. And this one you want to obviously go through that little checklist of yours. So pulling your right knee to your chest, push with that left elbow onto the left thigh, and then maybe you want to lengthen the tailbone away from you. But if any of those don't feel safe or advantageous, is the big word for the day, then don't do it. Kind of obviously, hey, it's your body, so do what feels like it's going to be beneficial. Take a nice deep breath as you circle through whatever your checklist looks like. And then you can gently release your hold on the right leg, uncross the left and change over so that that right leg crosses over. Pull the right leg up, the left knee, sorry, up towards your chest, and just notice that there's most likely a difference either in where you feel it or in your range of movement. In almost every pelvis, there's a difference in terms of which muscles are a little bit tighter or fixed or not doing what they need to do. So pull that left knee up towards your chest, push out on that right leg, and maybe lengthen the tailbone. Taking deep breaths in and out. And then you can gently just release the hold on the back of that leg, uncross the legs. And you're going to tuck both of the legs up towards your chest. Round yourself into a tiny little ball if you can. Also, only if that feels nice. I just find it gets such a nice stretch into the whole back. And because you've got pressure onto your back, it's almost like a little massage. I don't know. Maybe it's all in my head. Hold behind your thighs and give yourself a kick and sit yourself up. Ah, here we go. Do we have time? Do we have time? I think we have time. Okay. Hold on to the back, hold on to the sides of your shins. Lift the one leg up, lift the other leg up. Grip onto the sides of your shins. Actually, if you need to, then find some skin because it's quite hard holding on to pants, okay? So if you need to hold onto your skin, then do so. Try and find your balance with a straight spine and your legs are up, okay? Now, this is just for fun, I promise. If you need to go, then go, but it's fun, you know. So keep your knees slightly separated, not super wide. Straight spine, and then you're going to tuck your tailbone under, round your spine, and rock yourself back, and then come back up, and back, and come back up. And if it takes 1 or 2 rolls, that's fine. Try and come back up and sit yourself up tall. There we go. And then you're going to tuck the tailbone under, round the spine, roll back, and come back up, and see if you can sit up tall. And then tuck the tailbone. And you're trying to keep your knees at the same distance from your chest the whole time. So you're not curling in. Keep going. See if you can try just 1 or 2 more. This is called open leg rocker, just so you know. It's like a sneaky thing to throw in. Right at the end, up you go, sitting up tall. Let's just do 1 more. Tuck the tailbone under. Sitting up, holding it there. Balance, balance, balance. Grow tall through the spine. See if you can let go with your hands. Just show off for 5 seconds and then place those feet back down and round yourself over. Swivel yourself around and find your feet underneath you if you can. So feet under your pelvis, hip distance apart. We're going to push your bum up towards the ceiling and find the bottom of your roll down position. There we go. Rolling has some interesting benefits, actually, which I don't have time to discuss them right now, but we'll chat about them another time, I'm sure. Pull the tummy nice and tight. Shoulders and neck are heavy and relaxed, and restacking that spine as you grow taller, 1 vertebra at a time. You place your ribs on top of your pelvis and your shoulders on your ribs and your head on your shoulders, just floating there. And you lift the heels up. And you lift your arms up to the ceiling and you take a deep breath in. You take your arms down, your heels stay up. Can you balance? Arms come down. And now in that position, leave your head behind as you grow taller towards the floor. Lower your heels back down. Lengthen through your spine. And have a wonderful Friday. There we go. But open leg rock is fun.